Hey there and welcome back. So today we are looking at the Bachmann Patriot class. Now, I did do this in a haul video quite a while ago showcasing this loco, and it's just taken me a while to get to it. And yeah, I've needed and wanted to get to this loco because when I get them for review, I tend to, apart from running in, making sure they're okay, I've not actually run this loco on the track with anything behind it yet, because I want to do the review on it first. So I'm kind of glad I'm doing this, because this means then I've got another train that I can put to my running collection. So let's get started. Now, packaging it's okay. It's Bachmann's, basic packaging. We don't have any of that lovely foams, just your classic cardboard box with your block of icing. And on the sleeve, if we go around to the back, there is a brief history on the Patriot, which is quite good. So I'll just pop that there for a second if you want to pause it, if you want to have a look. And then we'll move this out of the way. Now, this, price-wise, let me show you the end of the box. So you've got the product number. And you see there, £85. Now, I got this from my local model shop, Ashton Model Centre. Again, channel's never been sponsored by them, but I just like to give places a mention where I get my things from. And yeah, this was pre-owned, but it is like an absolute new model. It is incredible the condition it's been kept in. So as always, pre-owned, second-hand doesn't mean it's old and knackered. You can get locos which are just like brand new. So let's bring the model into shot and let's have a closer look at it. So here it is. Now this is the Patriot with the name Duke of Sutherland on it, and as you can see, this was a second-hand model, but it looks in great condition. And just for the purpose of this part, handy thing with this is that I've managed to detach the tender, so that's a good little thing that we can pop out of the way and we can have a look at the rest of it. But there is a however to it being easily detachable, and we'll get to that very shortly. So let's have a look at this locomotive. So as we can see, we'll start from the front as always and let's have a look. We do have nice springy buffers. Now unfortunately, as you can see with these, with the colour of them, they are in fact plastic. So that's a little bit of a letdown really, but again, bear in mind this model was only £85, so I am definitely not complaining with what I paid for this. And I'm not going to go off an RRP because this was a second-hand model, but I'm guessing if I was to have bought this brand new with the actual RRP price, then yeah, I would have maybe been a little bit more thingy about those plastic buffers. But however, they are on. They look great to go with the model, with the black matching the boiler and the smoke deflectors, and I do think that they look quite nice. So as we can see on the front, we've got our coupler, and this is really cool because this one, as you saw me then, it will actually bend up, and it's got a little, just get the camera on, a little piece just there, so you can actually stow this away really tidily, so you can keep this on to either use or just for decoration. I think that's a great little feature, it really is. And let's work around from the front. So we've got the number on the front of the smoke box. You've got a couple of separately fitted handles here. This smoke box doesn't come undone, everything's all inside the loco on this one. We've got some great fitted smoke deflectors. We've got plenty of detail built into them. And if you look at this, the lining on this is absolutely wonderful the way this has all been done. It's really vibrant, it's picked out very nicely. The actual name badge there, or the name plate, the Duke of Sutherland, I do admit it's not kind of, I would have liked it to like stood out a little bit more than what it does. But for what it is, it looks okay. It's nice and clear, especially for the size of it, because this is quite small. And as you can see, the colour is even picked out underneath, just there where the nameplate is. So that is very nicely done. Now, let's talk about the pipes on this. As we can see here, they have got a black finish to them, and unfortunately they are in fact plastic. So if they were metal with a black finish, or they've just been left as like a darker, like maybe like an anodized metal, that would have been really, really nice. But unfortunately these are plastic. Now, while I don't think it spoils the actual look of the locomotive, it is a bit of a shame. But having that being said, you know, I am keeping in price the mere £85 what I actually was able to pay for this model. So yeah, it's not that bad. So we've got the wheels are in a wonderful black colour, and they've been picked out very nicely. You can see where the axles are. They have been covered. There's a little bit of a mark on this one, just about there, but they have been covered quite well, and they do look really nice to go along with the locomotive. And you can see the metal rods do look very nice and have been fitted really wonderfully to this. So when we get round to the cab, let's just go to the roof first, because as you see, you do have a sliding hatch on the roof, which is great. Let's just do this. And yes, now see, if you look at these here, these are metal. These are actually metal. So if these would have been done with that effect to these, that would have looked even better. But unfortunately, yeah, it hasn't been done with it, but that would have looked really, really nice. On the cab, you can see there by the shine from the light, you've got the glazed windows, you've got tons of riveting all around this, what pops out really nicely. And there is one thing that I will say, even though the number is printed over quite a few of those rivets, it has been done really nicely, really well. And it does look, you know, they have taken care to make sure that this has been printed on properly, and that is really nice to see. So if we turn this locomotive round and we get to the inside of the cab, now yeah, it's okay. I mean, you can see there you have got some separately fitted parts to it. You've got some valves, some lever gear, but a lot of that, as you can see, is moulded, and some of it has been picked out. But those big white dials with nothing in, I think that would have been a little bit better if they would have maybe even just left them black. It's kind of like we've done half of it, but we can't really be too fussed to do the other half. But yeah, so you do have some picked out detail in there that you will see as it's going round. So we've got as well, which is already fitted, a footplate spacer to go between the cab and the tender, which is a great little feature. And as you can see, because I don't have the tender on, you've actually got a choice with the coupling, so you can either have close coupling or further away for running. And again, that's a nice little, it gives you a choice rather than just the logo set where it is. So if we follow around the other side, as you can see, it is just as well done on this side as it is with the other side. Again, the metal rods look really, really nicely. Unfortunately, you've got the plastic pipe. You can see the chimney up top. And let's see, do we have any nice visible screw on the inside? No, we do not appear to have the nice visible screw on the inside, so that is a great little touch. And then if we flip this over, the brake rigging, now this could be because it's second hand, but I'm not sure, I'd have to check. The brake rigging has already been fitted. So that's a good little bit as well, because I know how fiddly these are. But one thing I will say about this, so you've got all the brake rigging, it actually shows that it's connected underneath the loco. Now some of them, they don't have this extra bit with the connection, so I do think that that is a fantastic extra little touch to this locomotive, and it really does show, you know, just that extra little bit of detail, which is fantastic. So I really do like this part. So what we'll do with that, we'll pop the loco, well, the main body of the loco to one side, and let's get the tender over and let's have a little look at that. Here we have our tender, And as we can see, there's lots of great detail fitted here. You do have separately fitted parts which unfortunately haven't been picked out, but it is, as you can see, there is quite a lot of detail to this. If we move it round, you've got a wonderful lining all the way around, that lovely LMS. And I did forget to mention with the main body of the locomotive, the finish on this has been done so nicely, and I'm really liking the yellow against this LMS maroon. It's such a nice contrast. It really does make the delivery pop. It is really nice. Around to the back, let's check these buffers. These buffers are springy. Now I'm just going to bring the locomotive back in, because see how these are really nice and shiny. Let's just have a look at these ones. You can see these look quite a bit duller, to be truthful. See that? It's like there's been two separate sets of buffers fitted, so that is a little bit of a shame that they're not looking both as they should. It's not too big of a thing for myself, but if somebody really likes, you know, the realism, everything to be the same, then it should be the same. You know, it shouldn't have what appear to be two different sets. However, with it being a second-hand model, maybe at some point something happened and these have been fitted. But again, it would be difficult to tell. We've got great lining on this side, but sorry, just going back to these could have been fitted from the factory, you know, the way they have been, but as we're looking at it, we may be able to assume that these have been fitted differently. The only thing that would make me think otherwise is that if these were differently fitted, they wouldn't necessarily maybe be springy, because they do feel exactly the same as what's on the front of the locomotive. So yeah, so let me know what your thoughts are on that, or yeah, it would be interesting to know what you think. And let's go up to the top. Now, as you can see, the coal on this loco is in a little bit of short supply. I think we need to top this up a bit. But there is a nice little bit of detailing inside there. There's a couple of marks in there. Looks like it might have been done when it's been moulded. But yeah, that tender's looking at a little bit empty. I mean, if I do that with my finger, you can see how much of my finger's actually going in there before you do get to that coal load, and that unfortunately is a little bit of a shame. Yeah, it's yeah, they have scrimped and saved on that a little bit by the looks of it. So the one thing that I will say with this locomotive, and let me just bring this back into shot now, as you saw from underneath, the way that they connect, it is done via this plastic pin. Now unfortunately, this plastic pin with this coupling means that there are no pickups on the tender. So no pickups on the tender means that this loco will have to have very good pickups on all three of these axles to stop any interference from large points. Now, as we know, the more pickups that you get, the better. But I wouldn't say this loco is that old, and I would have expected pickups to go from here. So yeah, it's I will say one thing though, this is metal, so it will be very strong connection between these. But yeah, pickups that are only in the locomotive, I think, given the age of this model, which isn't that old from what I can gather, it definitely, you know, it definitely could have been built with more pickups. But anyway, we've got what we've got in front of us, that's what we're reviewing, and we will check out how it does down the track. So let's go from here, let's have a look at the manual, and let's have a look at the detail pack as well. Right, so let's start off with our first pack. Now, as we can see, we've got this wonderful shroud, and this actually goes around the top of the tender. And then we have, I'm not entirely sure, honestly, what this bit is for. I'll have to look into this, but I do know that this does go over the top of this. So it may just be like a bit of a canopy that you can fit to protect the coal load. But yeah, that's a cool little feature, and I've not actually seen this with any of the models what I have so far. So let's pop these back into the packet. Then as you can see there, we've got a nice and quite a large vacuum pipe there, to be honest. And let's just pop that back in, put that to one side. Now this is the good little packet, I'm looking forward to this one. So we've got another vacuum pipe in there, but I am curious why everything wasn't in the one packet. There's two, but yeah. So anyway, yeah, just seems a little bit of a waste, but there we go. We have got 2 sets of valve gear. We have 2 painted side cab doors. We have 2 front step mounts to be fitted at your choice. We have, like we just said, we have the second vacuum pipe. And also this, now this is a spur drawbar. Spur drawbar, and as you can see, this only has 2 holes in it. So we may just have a look at this, because this could be the display bar for if you want it to be like super close coupled. But that's a nice little option that you actually have that choice with the locomotive. So again, that's a great little thing. So we'll pop all the rest of these back into the bag, make it nice and tidy, and then let's have a quick look at the manual. Okie dokie, so with this trade it came with 3 pieces of paper. So we just have the Collectors Club there, which as you can see, it's a little bit too big for the box. Unfortunately that gets curled up and bent behind the block of ice, so yeah, it would have been nice to have had that a little bit different, you know, if you like everything to be nice, flat and original. But this isn't something that I myself would use. And then the next one that we have is your guarantee. So obviously you want to keep hold of this and make sure that everything is okay. And then we get to the little manual itself. So, and the good thing with this is that it does tell you where all these extra little parts go. So as you can see, you've got your vacuum pipe, your 2 front steps, you've got your cylinder drain cocks, and then you've got your cab doors and the wind deflectors, what you can fit. And that is really good that it shows you not only what they are, but where they go as well, because sometimes you get these little extras, and if you're not, like, you know, a huge person knows, you know, everything about trains and sort of thing, you just didn't like the models, you may not know what they are and where they're supposed to go. So the fact that it tells you and the locations to fit these, you know, I will say that is a really good little bit of information. Now, one thing with this, if you look here, it says approximately 1 hour in each direction at moderate speed. This is quite interesting because a lot of the time, most of them just say 30 minutes. So an hour, that does seem a very long time to run this locomotive in. But if that's what they've recommended, it's obviously there for a good reason. And one thing that is good with this, now obviously it does not hold a candle to DAPL, to you know, the manual, which if you've been watching me for a while, you know how much I absolutely love those. But this does show a complete exploded diagram of the locomotive, and it even does give you parts, and what I am assuming here is part codes. So that is a huge thumbs up from me, because at least then you know exactly what you're dealing with, and if anything breaks you can quite easily replace it. So that is really good. Now if you can see there that these sections, some of them do look relatively large, so if they do go, they might be quite easier to replace, as they won't be as fiddly. And as you can see here with what I was saying before, you've got your canopy there for your coal load, that obviously goes underneath, and then that will either fit on top of this, or you could even fit that instead of, if you just like the idea of the little railings. And there we have our motor, all the mountings, and then the body of the loco itself. So yeah, you know, for a small or very small paper manual, it doesn't necessarily say about showing you lubrication, although it does tell you here where to lubricate it. You know, there's a lot more information on here than I would have thought. Let's get it down on the track, let's see what it will run, where it will run, and then let's have a bit of a look at it moving around. Okay, so here it is down on the layout. Now let's see how this crawl goes. Now bear in mind, all I've done is run this in like I mentioned before. So let's see what it'll do. Let's slowly turn up the controller, and again, we're not using the Gauge Master controller. We're still on the Hornby 2000 yet. I've just not sorted that out. But let's see what it will do. I can hear the motor. Oh, I tell you what, that is not bad. That is very, very good. It's a little bit jerky, but that is very nice and smooth. Let's just see if we can put this in reverse as well. Slowly again. That is really, really nice and smooth. For moving this around on the layout, for doing shunting, you're not going to get much better than that. And if you give me a moment, I just stop talking, you'll hear how quiet this is as well. As you can tell, there's hardly any noise coming from that locomotive. The only noise what for me is coming from that is obviously because this is on wood, there's no insulation under here, is the actual noise on the boards. It's an incredibly quiet running loco, and that is so great. So now, like I mentioned last time, with this layout we've got the inside track, the first radius curve. So let's see if this can indeed handle first radius and see how it gets on. Right, okay, so here it is on the inside track, and if you notice that just in front of this locomotive we have the set of points, and I've popped this pretty much right on these points. Let's see if this will clear these points quite happily first of all. So let's have a look at this. As you can see there, we've got the points. And that's managed out really well. So despite only having pickups on the locomotive that is non-linked to the tender, that's a bit slower. That manages that really well. Now that could just be because obviously you've got a wider wheelbase here, but it is managing it quite well. Okay, so as you can see now, we've moved the camera back. You can see a bit of the build underneath, and that's so we can just very easily, we can pan to one side and the other, and then let's have a look. Yeah, we've got a good look at this track with this first radius, and let's see if this will manage. So let's go backwards. Let's put it on the actual first radius curve, because this little section here was actually done with flexi track, so it may not quite be first radius. So we want to try on proper first radius, which we know is this little bit over here. So let's put it in reverse and let's have a look at it. So it's not doing too bad so far. Staying on. And that stayed on pretty well, and when it comes back you'll see the coaches it was going to use, because it just attached itself because I didn't quite put them too far back. But as you can see there, it's picked up coaches perfectly fine. Now let's see if it will manage this other section. Now this is the section that could be a bit different. There was a bit of slowdown, but look at that, that is actually made first radius. Now it says on this train that it is a second radius train, so where the axles have got a bit more flex in them or something like that. I'm not 100% sure, but look at that, that is a large, relatively large locomotive, and it's managing first radius. So for people who may only have a small layout, for me this is a bonus. It really is. So if you can grab one of these, especially if you can only have second or first or even first radius, you can still run nice locos just like this. And as you saw, it runs perfectly fine with no issues. So there we have it. Let me know in the comments down below, what do you think? This loco will run on first radius, so it is, well, from what I can tell, small layout friendly. So £85, Bachmann Patriot, wonderful loco, wonderful colouring. I would say this is a high loco to recommend, because especially if you can find one for that price. It runs smoothly, fantastically. There's been no issues with this whatsoever. Couple little things maybe on the detailing, but if you're just after the model itself, then you can't go much wrong with this. So thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you've enjoyed the review. As always, hit that thumbs up button, subscribe, that'll be absolutely fantastic. And with that being said, we shall see you in the next video.